So, joining me is Benny. He has been influential in the truth movement. He just hosted Anarchapulco, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show. How you going?
Great. Thanks for having me.
So, how was the event? I heard it was a success. What sort of information was covered for the viewers that aren't aware? And what transpired on the days?
Acapulco was, it was a lot of fun. The information was wide ranging, I guess you could say. The highlights for me were getting to see James Corbett speak and Del Bigtree,
Yes.
and just a lot of cool people gathered down there in Mexico.
Excellent. And Del Bigtree, he's been exposing a lot of the corruption surrounding vaccinations. So it's really good to have him there speak and educate the people on the dangers, because it's a real worry, isn't it, Benny?
Absolutely. No, he's a real trailblazer. He's a he's an amazing guy. He's fearless, and he is really leading the charge against the disinformation and propaganda.
Absolutely. So you were happy with the turnout, the response? The event was very well received. It was in a very lovely location. What was the sort of feedback that was given?
I don't know much about the feedback. It seemed like everyone was having a good time. I mean, I was really busy when I was there because I was working. So my days were pretty full. I was going from 9 a.m. till about anywhere between 7 and 11 p.m. So I was really on call. So I think it all went really well, but I don't know. Since I wasn't really experiencing much other than what was going on backstage. Uh, I can't really say. It seemed like everyone was having a good time.
Good to hear. Yep. And what led up to you hosting and emceeing the event? How did you get into position for that? What was your motivation to take control of that, Benny?
Well, I've been going to Anarchapulco since the first one in 2015. I was first invited to speak there because of Joy Camp, and ever since 2017, I've been going there to perform my poetry, which I write myself and perform live. And they keep inviting me back, and they thought I would be a good MC this year, so I said yes, and it was good times.
That's wonderful. So tell me about Joy Camp and how that helps people.
Okay, well,
Please.
Joy Camp is something we like to call conscious comedy, and we started in 2012, and it was my friends and me doing it, and yeah, it would just kind of happen by accident. I mean, my friend Kevin and I decided to make a video for fun, and it just really took off. And we found a niche with it, and we started making. We figured out or noticed that the truth movement was lacking a sense of humor. So we
Yes.
thought maybe we could fill that void a bit. So we just started making silly videos, all about taboo subjects, taking taking the piss out of rather serious subject matter, and showing people that it's okay to laugh in the face of evil and fear. And yeah, we really had a good run. We made videos from 2012 till about 2015 very consistently, and then life did its thing, and we all sort of moved in different directions. Me in particular, I ended up having to leave California just because I uh, couldn't live in Los Angeles anymore. So the rest of the guys are still there. I live in Washington State now, and our video production has come to a pretty screeching halt for the most part the last couple of years. We still make the occasional video. In fact, we're releasing a new video tomorrow for the first time in a year, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, but all the videos are pretty timeless. If you go to the Joy Camp YouTube channel, they all hold up really well. So if anybody's new to Joy Camp, go check it out. And I think you're in for a treat. It's youtube.com/Joy Camp. And Joy Camp is a term from 1984. And I think you'll get a kick out of it.
See, that's really good to hear. And what a wonderful approach to take a comedic outlook and be comical, because some of the information, it's very hard for people to process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And especially now in this age of censorship, it's much harder to silence humor and comedy and art. So I think yeah, use any tactics you can to try to avoid that monster. Uh, More power to you. So yeah, I think laughter breaks down people's walls, breaks down their barriers. They're more willing to listen if they're laughing, and that was always our goal. And also to provide a nice haven for people who are already awake that they could go to feel a little less anxiety, maybe.
Yeah, very much so. And we're seeing a lot of people suffering anxiety at the moment, fear and panic. The coronavirus is spreading. We're seeing people quarantined for weeks on end. It's a very alarming situation. How are you handling it where you are?
Doing anything. That's how I'm handling it. I'm just not giving into the fear. It's a little. I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest. But it doesn't seem like it's that serious of an illness. It
No.
seems like it's mainly just a fear campaign. Um, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they maneuver from here. I don't know. I'm not afraid of it, and none of my friends seem to be either. And it doesn't really seem to be much of a threat. The biggest threat is from I don't know is the fear that they're trying to promote through it with it.
That's exactly what it is. People buy into the fear. They promote all the panic scenarios, and people fall for it. And that's why they say they watch something on the news. They're in complete hysteria. They're rushing to the supermarkets. They're panic buying. We're seeing the stores. The shelves are all cleared out, completely empty. But when you look at it, there's much worse things that are fatal, that are striking people down every day, especially in third world countries. But people are buying into this, and it's a false fear that they're buying into, and it's people need to think logically and be a bit more rational in this situation, don't they?
I mean, there's you could walk out your door and get hit by a bus. I mean, you can take as many precautionary measures as you want, but you know, there's only so far you can go with protecting yourself and with safety. And this seems like it seems like it might even be not much worse than a common cold.
That's
And
right. That's what I've heard too. It's only very minor. It's something that people can be over in a few days. It's nothing major at all, and they just want to hype it up and make it seem like it is. So
much a mandatory vaccination on us, perhaps. I hope it's not the case, but yeah, it's just more fear mongering and more just crap.
absolutely, fear-based mind control and orchestrated to push vaccines on the public, and you hear that talk again, and it's they're using that as a weapon on people, and it's very sad to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's working so well though. I mean, I have a lot of friends and who deal with a lot of normies, you could say, people who are definitely not alternative minded, and the consensus is most people aren't buying this. It's really just being hyped with the television. And I don't see, I go out, I don't see anybody wearing masks outside. No one seems to be that freaked out about it. But then you turn on the TV and it's the worst thing ever. So I think it's not working as well as they would like it to as far as getting people scared. Maybe some people are not traveling as much or whatever, but I also see a lot of people buying plane tickets because they're really cheap right now. So I don't know. It's just I always like to look at the positive of things, and I'm hoping that that's the case, that people aren't buying into this shit, whether they're
Yeah.
awake or asleep or not. I mean, we've been so battered at this point. People are just tired of all the stuff that gets thrown at us.
Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. It's one thing after another, whether it's terror, whether it's a virus, an outbreak, all types. It's one thing after another, like you said, to keep people in a constant sense of fear. Because what we're seeing right now, it's bringing out the worst traits in people. We're seeing fist fights at supermarkets, where we're seeing people that had pushed someone down just to get a bit ahead, and we need to be looking after one another and spreading a good positive vibe. It's very cutthroat and every person for themselves, and that paints a very grim picture for the future. If panic and terror did really hit and we were in a danger zone, what we're seeing right now is very alarming signs of how people will react in future.
We've been programmed that way. All our entertainment is saturated with end of the world, post-apocalyptic or pre-apocalyptic scenarios. So we're trained to behave that way. So if there is, and we've been so removed from our ability to live a symbiotic relationship with nature that people are freaked out. Yeah, if the supermarket closes, then there's no food. That's true because people don't know how to have their own food, don't know how to grow their own food. So it's really diabolical in that way. So that all the entertainment, the books, TV shows, movies teach us to. It's like Pavlov's dogs. If this happens, this is how you react. So we will create that. We will there will be a hysteria when there's not as many supplies on the shelves because we've been trained to behave that way, and because we don't have any skills of our own to survive, we're scared of what would happen if the system were to fail. So it's multi-generational, this brainwashing and this removal from our own real human experience.
Very well said. And people, if they were self-sufficient, they did grow their own vegetables. They did have all the means and resources to take care of themselves with clean drinking water. Then they wouldn't be in so much fear. They wouldn't be so quick to turn on their neighbours and loved ones and quick to stockpile, because they'd be able to look after themselves. And with renewable energy sources, then you wouldn't see so much panic as what we're seeing now. But then you have companies like Monsanto that make it so much harder for people to provide for themselves, and it's one attack after another. And we're seeing it's not legal to collect drinking water, rainwater. They're really taking every measure necessary to keep people enslaved, aren't they?
Yes, they are, to keep us enslaved on a plantation that has no chains, so that we are willfully accepting it but not realizing it.
Right, and even they use debt as the new form of slavery. We've seen over Christmas people were putting plasma screens and PlayStations all on credit cards, and then they spend the next year paying that off. A lot of people, that's they got 3 and 4 MasterCards. They're using one to pay off another, and the debt, they just it spirals out of control for a lot of people. So I mean, some of the damage is self-inflicted too, with people living their lifestyles, but the way the system is structured, people fall into these traps, and there's no one there to help them. So it's very an alarming situation. That's why it's good to have independent media providing support networks, information on how to get yourself out of trouble, how to look after yourself.
Exactly.
So what plans have you got in the future? I'm sure you'll be back again at Anarchapulco and amongst it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. If they keep inviting me, I'll keep going back. I like going, but it is quite a journey to get there, and I do have quite a full life outside of it. So yeah, I do enjoy it, and if they keep wanting me, I'll keep going. The next thing I'll be attending is the Red Pill Expo on Jekyll Island here in the States, hosted by G. Griffin, and I'll be performing at that conference, doing my poetry there, and I'll have a book ready to sell by then, which G. Griffin is publishing, which is really exciting. So
Really good.
if anybody's listening to this, watching this, who's in the States, if you're interested in the Red Pill Expo, that's where I'll be, and it should be fun. That's a really good conference. I've gone the last 2 years. And other than that, I don't have any plans to perform anywhere or travel anywhere. I turned down something recently because I actually do need to spend more time at home. My wife and I, we just got married, and we want to start a family, and we want to learn some of those skills. Thank you. We want to learn some of those skills I just mentioned. I realize how devoid of real survival skills I have. So I need to spend more time at home coming up. And yeah, I'm going to just keep working on figuring out what to do with my sort of online, I guess, activism and my poetry and all that.
Max Egan spoke at your wedding.
Yeah, Max Egan. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he flew out here for the wedding and spoke at it, and it was awesome.
That's really good. I've had Max on the show.
Oh, cool. He's a good guy.
Yeah, we covered a lot of topics that were very important and exposed a lot of corruption and evil that is so prevalent in the world, and education systems that are, really indoctrinating people, and that's where a lot of the brainwashing starts, and how they're using that like a prison camp. And what we're seeing right now, it's really overwhelming. He's doing a great job here in Australia, Max is.
Yep. Yeah, he's good at exposing corruption. That's true.
And he did great with the bushfires, bringing information to the people, and giving people plans and a different outlook on what's going on. Something that was really alternative to what the mainstream media was pushing. So
Totally.
it's very important,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, Max is good. Yeah, he's a great guy.
So your book, tell me a bit about how that came into the works, and the publishing and some of the information, and of course where people can purchase that.
Okay, well, I started writing poetry in 2015, and for a while I just had one poem that I really wanted to share with people, and it was called Bill Lost His Memory. You can find it on the Joy Camp channel and on my personal channel. But that was the only poem I had, and I just wanted to share it with whoever would listen. And so for about a year, that's all I had, and I did use any excuse I had to perform it, and it was always received really well. So I decided to just lean into it. I basically just started telling myself, I'm a poet, I'm a poet, I'm a poet. And I just really got into that zone and committed to writing poetry consistently. And here I am 5 years later, and I've now performed all over the world doing my poetry. I did it at the Anarchapulco conference 2 years ago for G. Edward Griffin, and he was so impressed. He said he wanted to help me with my book and publish it. And that's also led to a bunch of MC gigs. So I've MC'd Red Pill Expo, I've MC'd Anarchapulco, Anarcho Vegas, and some other events, which is really cool. And yeah, so I basically I try to take on whatever I'm inspired to write about is what I write about. I have ideas sometimes, but they usually morph into, I don't know, whatever wants to come out in that moment of writing. But I have dozens of poems now that I'm really happy with, and I really think that, well, I know that they're good because people like them. They're really well received by people when they hear them, and it's similar to Joy Camp in that it's these bite-sized morsels of truth that, that really can help people. And yeah, I'm really excited about the book. It's called Poetry is Dead and Other Poems, and it will be available in June, and hopefully a digital version will be available either before that or after that, where you can download digital copy as well as audio. You can get copies of me reciting the poetry, which may be even a better way to experience them. But yeah, it's really exciting. That's where my passion is now, and it's a really awesome place to be at in my life.
That's really good news, and it exposes some of the poetry community to some of the truth and some of the horrible disasters that have taken place that the government's behind, and it gives them a new outlook as well. So it's always good to awaken the minds of others. Very good, and it's very empowering. You should feel really good about that, Benny.
Oh, thank you. I do feel pretty good about it.
All right, any closing statements for the viewers here at We Are Change Melbourne? Anything you'd like to cover or address?
Just come check me out on my YouTube channel. I just created it a little less than a year ago, and YouTube is a strange place right now, but it is the best place to access my content and other people's content as well. So until they shut me down, that's where to find me, youtube.com/Benny Wills, or you can go to bennywills.com. Yeah, I have lots of content there, and I'll have plenty more to come. And I do think I am on the verge of releasing the go-to truth-oriented poetry book, if not the only one in existence. And I think it'll be something that everybody will want on their bookshelf, and as well as something that they can offer to someone else to get them to think about, topics in ways they haven't before.
Well, that's wonderful. Keep up the great work, and continued success with all you're doing. Very best for the future. Thanks for coming on the show.